So you weren't angry with them? Or?
No, God, no. I was very angry. With
Sometimes people can be.
Yeah.
Mind your own business. And,
No, I've never been like that. I always said as well. In the past I would try to cut down because it was more over a period of about kind of 2 years that things kept happening where my drinking was getting in the way, and I kept kind of brushing it aside. And coming from Scotland, like I'd probably drink the same amount as any other Scotsman, but that's not really cool when you're trying to do a really serious job under a lot of pressure. And so this thing happened, and it was a good thing, and from that day, that morning that I stopped drinking, things have just all felt better, and we've all felt more gelled together as a unit, and we're kind of discovering that unity again that we always had before. And I think also because we were touring for so long, like we're toured for maybe 2.5 years, when you're touring it's quite easy to get kind of stagnant in that you're not being very creative. You're just on the road playing this kind of same songs every night, and although we put a lot of effort into our live shows, we do get, dare I say, quite good at it, so we don't have to think as much. So you're just kind of an autopilot doing these shows and then drinking, and it's just hard to, like Simon says, to kind of take things for granted and just kind of be on the journey, coasting along and still doing well and getting by. But I think it takes for us to go back into a creative situation to kind of push ourselves to then realise what we're doing and be really excited about being in a band again. And recording an album is the perfect time to get sobered and become re-excited about being in a rock band.
It sometimes feels like a rebirth sometimes, doing a new record, because as Ben says, it can become, we love playing shows, but it can become you're just existing day to day. There's just like you get really good at one thing and you just get slightly better at that thing every day, and there's no real progression in your mind, and you're not, you feel as though you're just stuck in this one moment, and it's like kind of Groundhog Day, and
it almost becomes a 9 to 5, doesn't it? At that point, it just becomes like a normal job which makes it harder to invest your heart in it, because the gigs, of course, for that hour or hour and a half a night, you do feel massively alive and it's brilliant, but then the rest of the time, you can just slip back down after that. And
what was it for you when he was drinking so much? Did you mind? Did you become closer with James, or?
Yeah, I think a wee bit for a while. We've all grown up together, and we all kind of drank the same amount. It wasn't like Ben was being brutalised. It was just so happened that the way Ben reacts to drink is different to myself and James, and it was just slowly over 2 years you suddenly realise that one small problem becomes this really big problem, and to be honest, if Ben hadn't kind of come in that day before the record with blood in his face and all that, we would probably still be kind of ignoring it almost, and kind of thinking everything will be okay. And we needed to hit that kind of low point to really show Ben how much we were worried about him and how much we cared about him, and also to kind of open our eyes as well, because it's easier to be ignorant about it and just think everything will be fine, we're in a band, it's what we do, it's what bands do, there's always, but it's more about family. I think that it became more about us wanting to look after our brother, rather than for the sake of the band. It was really to make, to just try and help as much as possible.
It was quite a specific situation, because it wasn't glaringly obvious. It's not like I would have 2 beers and then try and start fights with people, or like I wasn't a nasty, horrible person. I was always quite jovial and happy, but that's why it was hard, for it to be so clearly a massive problem. I wasn't waking up in the morning and saying, "Where's the fucking vodka? I need to get drunk right now." It was nothing like that. It was just I would drink at the same time when these guys would drink. I would just maybe have 2-3 more drinks extra, and then that would snowball into.
And at the first time, is like late for rehearsal or late for a plane or something. The first time you're like, it's fine, and then when it happens more and more, that's when the frustration gets in, and that's when you start to grow apart, and that's what happened for a good few months, is that you start to resent things that but fortunately we reached a point where we just had to deal with it, and it wasn't building up anymore, and you know, it was starting again.
So this was before actually the recording of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.